Hi, it's Timo. Welcome to Norwich City Central.
Hello everybody, Lewis, Norwich City Central. I hope you're doing well. Norwich City had a brilliant January, back-to-back wins against Watford and Everton, and some excellent displays which saw them rise to 17th in the Premier League table. And then Adam Eady got injured, and with some difficult fixtures, all that kind of good feeling around Norwich City evaporated. Norwich City lost to Manchester City and Liverpool, although there were some positives to take, but losing is never a habit you want to get into. And those losses continued. And then it came to crunch games against Brentford and Leeds. Brentford and Leeds are two teams that Norwich City have played and had frequent games with in the Championship, and they've come out on top. Norwich City, of course, have won 2 Championship titles in 3 years, which is a remarkable feat, and so many clubs are envious of us. But Norwich City have continued to fail to take the next step to ensure Premier League survival. Leeds have done so, spending a lot of money, but they've done so. And also through a fantastic manager. And Brentford have spent a little bit of money at it, but some good, again, some good managerial decisions that have ensured they're now surely going to stay up as well. Norwich City are going to go down again. This is the 4th season in a row Norwich City are going to go down. The supercomputer predicts Norwich City have a 1% chance of staying up, although you'd probably argue that is still being a little bit fortunate and a little bit high. Where does the responsibility lay? Where does the blame lay? These are questions which are critical to Norwich City's success going forward, because Norwich simply cannot keep doing this. It's they've got to try and take that next step, and the changes need to be made if Norwich City want to take that next step. The decision about what that next step is critical, because if Norwich City go too far with it, it could be detrimental, but equally Norwich City could reap the rewards of it. And a lot of debate is around the ownership at Norwich City Football Club. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below on what Norwich's next step needs to be if they want to ensure Premier League survival, because they've had 4 consecutive goes at it and they've failed at each opportunity. And there was a situation 4 or 5 years ago when Norwich City were close to administration, and eventually I think their luck is going to run out. And as you saw in the 90s and 2000s, and as you've seen from clubs like Leeds and Nottingham Forest, if they don't get promoted, the opportunities go, and Norwich City need to ensure they have those opportunities. There is a lot of debate around the Delia in or out situation, and it's a really, really complex question when you get that high up. And of course, the Delia Smith situation is something that needs addressing. But fundamentally, the issue that Norwich City have got wrong this season is the recruitment, which lies at Stuart Webber's feet, probably up a mountain at the moment that we speak. To be honest, to Stuart Webber, and I think a lot of Norwich City fans thought the business we did in the summer was good. We spent over £65 million, the 11th most in Europe. And we spent a lot of money, and a lot of players who you'd think would come good. Ozan Kabak, Billy Gilmore, to name a couple. Equally, there were some signings which Norwich City spent a lot on, and as a self-funding club, you can't be spending £10 million on the hope that Josh Sargent's going to come good. That's simply, a terrible decision. So some of the recruitment I think was good from Stuart Webber, but equally some of the recruitment was just not good enough. And 2-3 years ago, Stuart Webber commented on the fact that the Premier League is so much more athletic and so much more physical than what we had 2 years ago, and I've seen no improvements on that. We look less dynamic across the pitch, less physical, and that's really disappointing. And a lot of our signings don't seem to have that step up in terms of physicality and athleticism. I watch Crystal Palace play a lot, and they're a club who are in a similar position to Norwich, and they've absolutely smashed it out of the water in terms of their recruitment. Crystal Palace are so much more bigger than us and better. And that's been shown over the last decade they've been in the Premier League. Kieran Dow is a perfect example, I think, of the recruitment. A brilliant player at Championship level and a really nice character, but just doesn't have those qualities needed to ensure Norwich City stay in the Premier League. And we've got the recruitment wrong, and that's where, for me, the biggest blame lies. I think we've got Daniel Farke, obviously gutted that he left. He's Norwich City's best manager I've seen in my lifetime. And Dean Smith's a very good manager as well, but fundamentally the recruitment has not been good enough to get Norwich City to the top. And now the recruitment, situation, it's like, well, we spent £65 million, but if we spent 300 million, we would probably stay up. And then you get into the question of the ownership, don't you? Is the ownership good enough for a Premier League club? I think we've seen clubs like Burnley, Southampton, maybe not the wealthiest of owners who've managed to stay up year on year. And if you look at the ownership as well, I mean, Norwich City are spend probably some of the most money in the Championship, mainly because of the parachute payments. And fundamentally, if Norwich were to spend 3 or 4 years in the Premier League, that money would then accrue, as it has for Burnley and Southampton and Crystal Palace, and they've only made themselves better and better. And Norwich need to get to that next step. How they do it? Is it through new ownership? Well, we've seen so many examples where it doesn't work, but equally we've seen examples that it does work. Leicester's a perfect example. But for me, if you look at a lot of the examples where new owners have come in, it tends not to work. It tends to be difficult to still make that transformation unless you have someone with £10 billion. If you have someone with £10 billion as a net worth, it's close to guaranteeing success as Premier League survival. But if you have an owner who comes in with £1 billion net worth, now there's a lot of owners in the Championship who've got £1 billion net worth who are in, as I say, in the Championship or maybe even League One as well. Sunderland, Sheffield Wednesday, Derby. The ownership decision is critical to Norwich's success, and it's a massive, massive step for any club. And a lot of clubs get it wrong. A lot of clubs gamble. But equally, I hear that side of the debate. But equally, on the other side of the debate with Delia Smith, someone who has a net worth of 20 million, Norwich City almost went under 5 or 6 years ago. So the argument that Norwich City are, I don't think Norwich City are in a safe pair of hands. I think they're in a sensible pair of hands. But are they in a safe pairs of hands? That's something which I'm still not quite sure on. Because we had Delia Smith, of course, 5 or 6 years ago, where we were close to administration. We was in a terrible situation. It had to come to Stuart Webber coming in and practically saving Norwich City Football Club on that level. So that's where we are with the debate. I think that, of course, we can roll the dice and get a new owner in, but unless it's someone who has billions, and I mean several billions, then it's difficult to guarantee Premier League success. And also you've got to, on the same hand as that, question whether they have the integrity of the role, whether they care about the community. That's something that's really close to Norwich's heart. But equally, a lot of fans just want to see success. And of course, if a billionaire comes in, then you know, many fans would want to take it. But obviously, you have to look at the morals behind it. The morals at Newcastle are far from clean. But then, you know, that they're going to be happy when their team's winning games. Equally, Delia Smith's done an incredible job. But are Norwich City in a safe pair of hands with Delia? You know, if we continue down this hole and let's say Norwich City struggle to get to the Premier League in 2 or 3 years' time, then I wonder what Norwich will look like in the Championship, because we'd have lost the parachute money and we'd be in a difficult position. I think there's been so much respect to Stuart Webber for what he's done off the pitch. He's made Norwich City an incredible club off the pitch, and he's really developed the infrastructure from the ground up. And Stuart Webber always will be, for me, one of the biggest appointments we've made as a club in the last 20 years. But equally, he's got a lot of things wrong. Does it mean he should necessarily be sacked? I'm not so sure, but it means Norwich City have got to get the recruitment right, and Stuart Webber's failed at his job this year. But that's my kind of take on the Delia in or out situation. I think that to say Norwich are in a safe pair of hands, I'm not entirely sure, considering what happened 5 or 6 years ago. But Delia is an incredible ambassador for the club and someone who's always going to have my respect and so many Norwich City's fans' respects. But equally, you know, you've got to be looking at potentially new ownership, but be aware that there are a lot of risks to it, and Norwich City would be rolling the dice quite heavily. My take on it is that I think we should be open to offers, but you've got to be selective in those offers. And unless a big billionaire comes in who's got morals, then you have to really think about the decision. But fundamentally, forgetting about the ownership debate at the moment, the responsibility lies at the hands of what has been a terrible recruitment yet again from Norwich, where other clubs have been successful with their recruitment. We've got it wrong on a lot of levels, and that's one of the reasons why we've really struggled this season. Thank you for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below on this debate. There's still 9 games to go. Let's see how Norwich City can finish from now to the end of the season. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.